not scared of U.S. law. Clearly, the cartels are not scared of U.S. law enforcement and what's been going on. They built that into their business model. As long as they know our rules of engagement and we keep the same rules of engagement we have, is there any way for our law enforcement to win?
I don't think so. I mean, you've seen years and years, and you've seen administration after administration, and the same thing I've given to you factually, not partisan, is what you said earlier is the law enforcement doing to the max extent that they can of what they're allowed, and they're fantastic people, and they do things that you wouldn't believe. But you're absolutely right, is if you know what the rules are and you know what the laws are, the cartels go right up to that edge and then change their game. In addition, you're talking billions and billions of dollars, and these people have access to weapons and technology that is beyond many of the times what the law enforcement has. They literally have a grip and control of Mexico. So escalating to a military operation like that, and I think it has to be very focused and very specific to these cartels. But that is one thing that would scare them. And second of all, we have the means and the capability to take them out. I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about action and direct action tied to that.
Well, and this would not be unprecedented. The Delta Force, U.S. Army Special Operations, went down to Colombia. They were involved in the capture of Pablo Escobar. That did change the ball game for the Colombian cartels because suddenly their top leadership was being hunted by people who could actually hunt people who couldn't be bought off the way they bought off the Colombian military, the way they buy off now the Mexican military. We put back up the graphic of the current cartel honchos. You've planned these operations. If all of a sudden these guys have to start worrying about getting taken out by predator drones, that does change the dynamic for what they do, how they operate, and how much time they can spend sending fentanyl into the United States and their other illegal activities.
That's right, because then they really wouldn't have a safe haven in Mexico. Like I said, it's a lot more complicated than we're saying, but we're really talking about, again, taking out the leadership, the infrastructure, and the operations. That includes taking out the money and the funding and shutting that down. I get that,
but you say it's a lot more complicated. We did it against ISIS 10,000 miles away from our home in a very hostile environment inside Syria, which had the Russian military it's sometimes a couple of 100 yards away from us. You don't mean we couldn't do that pretty easily? You know, it's not that far from Fort Bragg to Brownsville.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we talk about direct action and taking care of that, yes, I'll clarify a little bit more. Is one of the things we would have to watch out is when they live in these areas, they support the local environment and the local populace very well, is we would have to watch out for collateral damage. So that's why when I was saying surgical, it would have to be surgical. But absolutely, as far as our special operations or special warfare, all of our agencies that work together would be able to take these individuals out. We'd have to do it very surgically and very specifically. That's the complex part, the operational part.
That's why we spend $1 trillion a year on defense, right? There you go. That's
absolutely.
Might as well take it out for a ride sometime. Hey, Glenn, it's good to see you as always. Thank you.
Good to see you as well, and I hope we get to do something about this.
Yeah, no, and we're going to be talking about the White House response, and interestingly enough, how the Mexicans are weighing in on this a little later in the show. Glenn, thank you.
You bet. Take care.